Hi, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Sue, and today we're going to talk about cooked vegetables. Not how to cook them, but how to serve them, Greek style. You can see I'm surrounded today by an array of cooked vegetables, vegetables that Greek people just love to eat and they really enjoy. I've got some fresh cooked broccoli, some fresh cooked beets, some wonderful red Swiss chard, cauliflower, and some fried eggplant. Today we're going to learn the special sauces that traditionally go with each one of these vegetables and some other vegetables too. So let's get started. The first sauce is Ladolemeno, olive oil and lemon. The traditional home-style everyday sauce Greek people would use for cooked vegetables. It's used in particular for any vegetables from the cabbage family, including cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, anything like that. And it is definitely used for any kind of dark green leafy vegetable. Things like the red Swiss chard that I have, regular Swiss chard, mustard greens, dandelion greens, anything. This is a standard, everyday, traditional sauce for Greek cooked vegetables. My father was a typical Greek. He loved cooked vegetables and he loved leafy greens. He grew spinach in our backyard, and so almost every evening we not only had salad with our meals, but we had some sort of leafy green vegetable that had this olive oil lemon sauce on it. In fact, I have wonderful memories growing up in Los Angeles as a young girl. My mother would take me and my grandma out looking for a field that didn't have any buildings on it, and my mom and my grandma would get out with a bag and a knife, and they'd go looking all through the field for weeds, horta, edible weeds, things like dandelion greens and other things that I wasn't even aware of. But they'd pick these greens, bring them home, and cook them up for dinner that night. Of course, while they were busy picking weeds, I was busy talking to the cow in the pasture nearby. To make this simplest of vegetable dressings, you need about a half a cup of olive oil. And I like to use the extra virgin. It has a wonderful flavor. As I said before, when I was growing up, this was a staple at our dinner table. Some kind of vegetable with this kind of dressing. In fact, I was not aware that the rest of the world put butter on their vegetables. I just thought everybody used olive oil and lemon. Okay, so about a half a cup of olive oil and the juice of 1 or 2 lemons. Okay, now you just need to add the lemon juice to the olive oil. If you're fond of lemon, you could add 1 more lemon. Whisk it up with a couple dashes of salt, a little bit of pepper, and that is it. This is a traditional home-style sauce for cooked vegetables. I'm going to pour a little bit on the broccoli. Doesn't need to be drenched either. This is especially good with greens. Greek people love this with any kind of cooked greens. And a little bit on the cauliflower. Now, nothing could be simpler. And these vegetables can be served warm. They can be served room temperature. They can even be served cold when they're like this. It's really wonderful, and I think you can see why the Mediterranean diet has been considered such a healthy diet. Lots of vegetables and lots of olive oil and lots of lemon. It's really good for you. So why don't you try it sometime? It's simple, it's easy, and it's very tasty. So that is sauce number 1. Let's get ready for the second one. Before we start on the next sauce, I do want to remind you that you can find this recipe and all the recipes that we've used on this show on our website, Tweeton.com. Not only will you find the recipes from this show, but you'll find wonderful links to Greek sites that will give you more insight into the Greek culture. So I hope you look us up, Tweeton.com. Now to the second sauce. This is an Avgolemeno sauce, egg lemon sauce, and it's especially formulated for serving with cooked vegetables. It's different from the Avgolemeno that's used for soup or used for stews. It's a little sturdier because it has a roux. It has some flour and butter. It will actually allow you to keep it heated, keep it warm, and even allow you to reheat it. So it's a wonderful sauce for vegetables. And the first thing you need is a 1/3 cup flour and a 1/3 cup butter or margarine, equal proportions. The first thing you need to do is measure out a 1/3 cup of either butter or margarine. Put it in a saucepan and melt it over medium heat. You don't want to burn the butter. You want to make sure that the butter is completely melted before you add any flour. Now you want to add 1/3 cup all-purpose flour. Add it to the butter and blend well. Now you want to cook this a few moments so that it bubbles. In the bubbling, in the cooking, you get rid of any of that floury taste. And so the sauce, when it's done, will have a velvety, smooth texture and a luscious flavor, but it won't be chalky or floury. And you can see now that the roux is beginning to bubble. Just let it bubble for a few minutes. Not enough to brown, but just enough to make sure that the flour is completely cooked. And after about 1 minute of cooking the roux, take it off the heat and we're ready to add the broth. The next step is to add about 3 cups of broth. Chicken broth works nicely, and so does vegetable broth, canned, or you could use 2 cubes of bouillon, either chicken bouillon or vegetable bouillon. Today I'm going to use vegetable broth. Now you need 3 cups, so just measure it. This will not measure to 3 cups, so I'm going to fill in the rest with water. And that's fine because this is not supposed to be strongly flavored of chicken or a particular vegetable. So I've added some water, and now it's 3 cups. And I'm going to warm this in the microwave for about 3 minutes. The reason I'm warming it is that the broth will incorporate into the roux faster, quicker, without too many lumps. So in it goes for 3 minutes. Okay. The broth is heated, and now I'm going to try incorporating it into the roux. Okay, so I'm going to start pouring the broth in slowly and mixing it in with the roux little by little. I want it to stay smooth. And then I'll put it back on the heat. Now I'm just going to put it back on the heat, pour in the rest of the broth, and whisk it while it cooks. I have this over medium heat, and I'm going to be whisking it every few minutes until it gets thick like a typical cream sauce. While the sauce is cooking, I'm going to go ahead and beat the eggs. We need 2 beaten eggs, and you need to beat them in a separate bowl. This is the avgo part of avgolemeno. Avgo meaning eggs. Now let's get to the lemeno, the lemons. We need the juice of 2 lemons. And you'll add the lemon juice to the beaten egg. And don't forget, as you're doing this, to go back to the sauce and give it a stir so that nothing sticks on the bottom. Now what you want to do is just add the lemon juice to the eggs and beat them up a little more. Okay, that's fine, and it's just a matter now of waiting for the sauce to get thickened as it cooks. Okay, now comes the tricky part. We've got the eggs beaten with the lemon. We have the cooked sauce. Now we have to put these 2 together. Under no circumstances should you dump the eggs into the hot cooked sauce. All that will happen is you'll end up with lemony flavored scrambled eggs, and that's not what we want. What you do is take a ladleful at a time of the hot sauce and put it into the eggs and beat it up slowly, 1 ladleful at a time. What this does is it very gently warms the eggs, even cooks the eggs, but without that massive amount of heat that would scramble them. So you just do this. I like to incorporate at least half of the sauce into the eggs. That way I know my eggs won't curdle when I pour the whole thing back into the sauce. And also at this point, you should turn your sauce down to a low heat. It really doesn't need to be cooking a lot. So it's just 1 ladleful at a time while you're whisking the hot sauce into the eggs. And if you're really curious, you can stick your fingers in the eggs and you can see it's very warm now. So there won't be any chance of curdling the eggs as you put them back into the sauce. And that's what I'm going to do right now. And now it's time for me to take the egg mixture, put it back into the sauce, and cook it for a little bit over low heat. And again, everything's done slowly. So there's no shock to the egg system or the sauces system. Look at that sauce. It's beautiful. A nice golden color from the egg yolk. Beautifully velvet texture. The only thing left now is just to cook it a little bit and then to taste it for salt and pepper. As the sauce cooks over the low heat, it thickens slightly because of the eggs. One thing that's nice about this sauce is that you can make it and leave it on a low heat while you get your vegetables ready. It won't fall apart, it won't curdle. I've got to go shopping. I've made my list and I need a few things. So I'm going to my local grocery store, Vic's Market on Oak Avenue Parkway in Folsom. Why don't you come with me and we can go over some of the things, the ingredients, grocery items that make Greek cuisine so unique and so different and so special. Here we are at lemons, and you can't do anything in Greek cooking without an abundance of lemons. You need lemons for some desserts, but especially for the savory cooking. Lemons make Avgolemeno soup, that delicious egg lemon soup. Lemons are used in Avgolemeno stews. Lemons are used in the famous Greek baked chicken with lemon. You use lemons in a combination with olive oil for salad dressings, for all kinds of dressings for cooked vegetables. You really can't get along in Greek cuisine without lemons. Here we're in the cabbage family, and Greeks love any members of the cabbage family. They love cooked cauliflower, broccoli, either red or white cabbage, and they love to serve them with olive oil and lemon juice, or if they're getting really fancy, they'll serve them with an Avgolemeno sauce, which is egg and lemons. Here are some green leafy vegetables that Greek people love to eat at dinner time. And you have Swiss chard, red and white, and Greeks love beets, but not just this part. They love beets with the beet tops, and they serve them sometimes dressed with olive oil and lemon, but also sometimes with Skordhalia, which is a very, very sharp, fresh garlic sauce. It's delicious, but you don't want to kiss anyone afterwards. Also, Greek people use bell pepper from time to time. But here is the star of moussaka, and that's eggplant. When you're looking for eggplant, you want them nice and firm, glossy, dark purple. But this is what makes moussaka special, and also a special appetizer dip of baked, roasted eggplant. And now we come to the most exciting, the most interesting, and the most smelly of all the Greek sauces, Skorthalia. It is a fresh garlic sauce. It is so good. Greek people use it on fried eggplant, fried zucchini, beets, fried fish. It's absolutely wonderful. It's a little tricky to make, but it's worth it. Of course, you need to invest in some toothpaste, gum, and breath mints for the next day, but that's okay. It's worth it because the eating experience is absolutely heavenly. So here we go. Now for this garlic, it needs to be more than minced. It needs to be run through a garlic press. So I'm going to peel my 6 to 8 cloves of garlic and then run them through the garlic press. They need to be very fine, even smashed, so that you don't really run into even a small little piece of garlic. Okay, now there's 3 different ways that you can prepare this Skordhalia. I'm going to prepare it with an electric mixer. If you wanted to do it the traditional way, you would use a mortar and pestle, and of course one that's a lot larger than this. And you'd put the garlic in the mortar and smash it up with the pestle, and then little by little add the olive oil, lemon, and the other ingredients. I'm not going to do that. Mortar and pestle are cute to look at, but I don't want to use them. I'm going to use a garlic press. So all you do is you put how many garlic cloves can fit in your garlic press, 1 or 2, and press the garlic into your bowl. And then scrape off the garlic that went through and take whatever got bunched up and give it a pass once more time. Squish it. And keep doing this until you have pressed or crushed all your garlic cloves. and I'm using 8. You might want to use 6 cloves, and if you're really hesitant, you might even want to go down to using just 4 cloves. Another way you can do this is you can actually make it in the blender too. If you want the variations, the mortar and pestle way, the blender way, please look up our website, Tweeton.com, and that will give you the specific directions for using the mortar and pestle and for using the blender. So just keep crushing the garlic. This was one of my dad's favorite things to eat, and several of our Greek friends just loved to have this. They waited for the day when they could have some fresh beets or fried eggplant to eat with Skordhalia. And you know it's good for you. Garlic's supposed to be really good. And fresh garlic. Tasty and good for you. Now, a lot of people don't like to eat beets, and a lot of people don't know what to do with eggplant. Well, you put this stuff on it, and it makes the humble beet and the humble eggplant absolutely delicious. Can't stop eating them. Okay, that's it. I have crushed as much garlic as I can. So it's here in the bowl. And we're on to the next step. To the crushed garlic, you want to add 1 cup of already mashed potatoes. Now you could use instant mashed potatoes. I've never done that, so I don't know how that would taste. Or you could use the frozen mashed potatoes too. To the mashed potatoes and the garlic, add about a teaspoon of salt. You'll need 1/4 of a cup of lemon juice. So just juice a lemon and see what you come up with. As I said before, a little more lemon juice isn't going to hurt. So in goes the juice of the 2 lemons. And now I want to add 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. Now before we add the olive oil, you should just beat for a few seconds the mixture that's in the bowl on the lowest setting of your electric beater. That's the potato, garlic, lemon juice, and vinegar. Okay, that's just fine. Just make sure everything's combined. You'll need 1/2 cup of olive oil. So I'm just going to measure out 1/2 cup of olive oil. I might need a little bit more depending on the moisture of the potato. But you just pour in the olive oil a little bit at a time as you're mixing the potato mixture in the bowl. Now that looks just about fine. The consistency is perfect. It's not too thin, it shouldn't be watery, but at the same time, it's not too thick. It's perfect for spooning on your vegetables. And we're going to get those vegetables and serve some of this stuff up right now. So today we've learned 3 classic Greek sauces for vegetables. The wonderful olive oil and lemon dressing, Ladolemeno, really good with dark leafy greens that have been cooked. The delicious Avgolemeno for cooked vegetables. That's wonderful with things like cauliflower, broccoli, and especially stuffed cabbage leaves. And the tasty, tasty Skordhalia fresh garlic sauce. That's traditionally served with beets and fried eggplant. And most of the time when we think of eggplant, we think of Greek moussaka or Italian eggplant parmesan. But believe me, just plain simple fried eggplant with Skordhalia can't be beat. I'm going to give myself a huge helping because I love this stuff. And people love me after I'm done eating it. Mmm. Yum. Oh, that's so good. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. As my button says, now's the time to kiss me because I'm Greek. Oh no? Well, how about this?